Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone. I am Namrata Arora Singh, Life Balance Coach for Women from India, and today I'm excited to bring to you the second episode of the Me in Motherhood series on the International Life Coach Radio. As you know, Life Beyond Motherhood was set up with the mission of making a positive change in the lives of women post-motherhood. In the last episode, we spoke with Divya Parekh, International Career Leadership Coach from the US, and Sairi Chahal, founder of Sheroes from India, on how moms can make a solid comeback to their careers. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Lynn Elder, personal branding coach from the UK, and Chetna Mehrotra, image consultant from India. I do want to share with all of you that I am thrilled to have our guests on the show today because Lynn is not just a seasoned marketing professional and consultant who brings with her years of experience in marketing, but also happens to be my personal branding coach. Lynn Elder started speaking on the international stage in the late 80s. She is an entertaining speaker, a transformational coach and mentor, recognized for her personal journey in the field of personal branding. She brings to life a total understanding of just why personal branding is essential for today's career-focused individual, solo professional, and entrepreneur. As a chartered marketer, she has years of international marketing expertise. As a certified professional coach, she has transformed the lives of hundreds of people through the years. And as a passionate businesswoman, she has inspired countless individuals to reach their true heights in their career, their business, and the fullness of their lives. Lynn is particularly passionate about enabling women to reach their potential and experience the freedom, excitement, and personal fulfillment that a successful career or business delivers. Lynn, welcome to this episode of the Me in Motherhood series on the International Life Coach Radio. How are you doing today?
Namrata, thank you for that welcome. That's brilliant. I'm fine. I must say that there is an echo on this line, so I'm hearing both you and me twice. There's a little delay. So if I sound rather strange, then forgive me. Or there may be something that you can do your end to correct it.
Sure, no worries. It seems good to me, so let's go on. And I am also at this point going to introduce our other guest for the evening, Chetna Mehrotra. And Chetna, do let us know if you hear the echo too. Chetna is an image consultant, a dance drama storyteller, and a drama-based learning facilitator. She is a presenter, coach, and a consultant specializing in appearance, behavior, communications, and works with individuals, organizational, and educational institutes. Chetna, welcome to our show.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Namrata. And I hope I'm loud and clear. And
yes, do you hear an echo as well, like Lynn does?
Okay. Okay. All right. No, I hear quite okay. I'm listening to your voice very clearly. There's no echo.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
So, sure. So what we are going to do today is, Lynn and Chetna, we would love for our listeners to get your insights on how one can make personal branding work. I would like to share with our listeners that they can write their question in the chat box, and should you want to ask a question, please do share your number so I can unmute you using my control panel. To begin with, Lynn, could you share more about what is personal branding? I mean, what is this really all about? Is it one's reputation or is it one's social media presence? What is it really?
Well, that's a key question, and in fact there's a lot of discussion about what is personal branding, what is reputation, and the role that social media plays in it. I would suggest that personal branding is not the same thing as reputation. However, they are very closely linked. Personal brand is more about your identity and your sense of self, your core values, who you are on the inside. And then using these internal qualities and values, etc., to underpin authentically how you project yourself and show up in your career and business. So if you like, it's about taking your internal self and creating your brand actively with volition and intent. Whereas reputation is more about what other people think of you, how they react to your brand, how they interpret it. So if you like, there's a passive and an active. You know, the active is actually the creation of the personal brand, and the passive, if you like, is the way people react to you.
Interesting. Let's just hold on to that thought for a minute. And Lynn, I do think there is an echo for sure. Do you want to just try and dial in again while I ask?
I think I would, if you don't mind, because it is...
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Chetna, over to you. What do you think is personal branding all about, and how would you distinguish it from image? I mean, is there some overlap? Is one a subset of the other? How does it work?
Yeah, Namrata, would you like to repeat? I lost your voice at the end.
Sure.
Okay.
So what is personal branding all about? What do you think is its relation with image consulting?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Neat, I'll be really delighted to answer this one. Image, let us first understand what is image management. Image management comes from the first word is image, and image is your physical representation, first of all, of what you are from your external appearance and also your internal thoughts, behaviors. So it is who you are and what you're all about. So very important are these two words, who you are and what you are all about. So hearing image definitely connects with the brand that one carries, that is a personal brand. So what are you all about? What are you projecting as a personal brand? How do people know you? What do they connect you with? Are there specific characteristics? Are there specific traits? Are there specific adjectives that they add to you when they think or somebody takes your brand name or when they look at you? So definitely image, which is managed and projected in a way, leads to a personal branding identification.
Okay. And when you say image, are you talking about one's physical presence only? So just how you look, how you conduct yourself, or are we also getting into the whole realm of social media presence and how you project yourself there and things like that?
Sure. I think that's a very good question because for some time ago, it was only related to like an image we talk about for aspects of a person's image. They being clothing first, second is grooming, third is body language and etiquette, and the last being vocal communication. But yes, with the recent trend of social media and digital marketing and presence of all of our names, our brands on social media platform, this has gained a lot of importance. What we call it social media image management has gained a lot of popularity and importance, and also criticality. Because you are also known by what you project on the social media. It is quick, it is noticeable instantly. So definitely image, when we talk about, is also your exterior image, your physical presence in terms of clothes, fabric, colors, body language, internal image, and also how you manage your image on social media.
Okay, got it. Lynn, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, much
Great.
better.
No echo. Great.
Yeah, wonderful. So Jana was just sharing with us, what is image management, and she did talk about the fact that there is an element of social media presence in there too. I know you left off in between, so you could rejoin us. Is there something you'd like to add to what you had begun to say?
Yes, I was emphasizing, if you like, the difference between personal branding and reputation. And really the important thing is that personal branding is something that you do with volition. It's the creation of your brand. It's the development of your brand from your core values. The reputation is how people take to this. It's what they think about you having interacted with your brand. So the way I think about this and explain it is that one is active. The creation and the development of the brand is active. The reputation, to an extent, is passive. One comes before the other. And the social media element is one of the vehicles by which one can promote one's brand. So it's those are the way the three elements are connected within the field of personal branding.
Okay, great. And I know, Lynn, in our earlier conversations, you have spoken about personal branding as something that is not just nice to have, it's an absolute necessity. And having been through sessions myself, I do subscribe to it. But it would be great if you could spend some time talking to our listeners about why do you feel it is a necessity, and perhaps sharing some examples as to how, in cases where personal branding was made purposeful, it really helped an individual or a business.
Well, my own take on personal branding is that it is an absolute necessity. Now, whether you're an employee or whether you're an entrepreneur, there's so much competition out there, and it's getting more and more intense as every month and year passes. So I think that if people don't have a personal brand, then they really risk disappearing in a sea of sameness. They're not marking themselves out. There's nothing which is going to bring them to the attention of the powers that be, or indeed their client base. So I really, really advocate the development of a personal brand rather than just sort of leaving career development or business success to chance. I always say that hope isn't a business success strategy or a career development strategy. You've really got to actively develop it.
Right.
So I wondered whether it might be useful to give a hook to your listeners as to my own experience of personal branding and how I got into this in the first place, because it's really quite an illustrative tale that they can grasp hold of. Would you be interested to know that?
Yes, absolutely. We'd love that.
Okay, well that's good. Well, I have to say it all began with my epiphany. And I was a junior manager, and I saw other people around me being promoted and getting project work and assignments, that bring you to the attention of the powers that be. And it wasn't happening to me. So I started to realize that as far as my senior bosses were concerned, I was largely invisible. They didn't know what value I could bring to the organization. And that really led to my total epiphany, because I realized that not only were they not able to articulate my value, in fact, I couldn't articulate it either. So if I didn't know my value, how could I expect anybody else to know? So at that moment, I realized that if I was going to get the career that I yearned for, then I'd actually have to manage my career strategically, just like a product or a service. I'd have to work out where I wanted to be, how I was going to get there, and then how I was going to make that happen. And I realized I couldn't just expect it to happen. I couldn't rely on bosses to notice me automatically, no matter how good I was. So I'd have to bring myself to their attention. I'd have to make my worth so obvious that they couldn't not see me. So that's when I decided I would take on a high-profile, high-risk job and develop a personal brand.
Mm-hmm. And how did you do that? Lynn, are you there? Okay. Well, maybe some connectivity issues. Chetna, are you still on the line?
Yes, sure. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. What do you think about what Lynn was just articulating in terms of, some realization hitting and one then becoming purposeful about how one establishes one's brand?
Mm-hmm. Yes, while Lynn was talking about her story, and so there are so many stories that we witness and we listen to when we meet women, and especially the months which have just gone by in March, when I was with Women 14 different organizations. I was conducting workshops in the Women's Week, the 8th of March. We did a beautiful sessions with each of these organizations on how, through storytelling, how they feel about their own life story when they became mothers, and after that they came back. So they had, they had a similar undertone, a similar story thread which went through each of these stories, where they were always it's like how a stage is. If I use the metaphor of a stage, and there are these curtains open, and we visualize the women just standing behind that curtain and just peeping out. So they've always realized and have connected to the women behind that curtain, who just peep out to just see that what's happening in the show, why she's the one who's constructed the entire show. She's the one who's got everything, the orchestra in place, the people in place. She's jammed up all of it. Actually, it's not that confident enough to move out of that stage and, away from the person and say, hey, I did that. Yeah. So that's another thing I found in all in common, and that's what they felt. That there was no trigger, there was no stimuli, there was no internal trigger and urge for us to come out in the front and say, listen, I'm the one who got this thing done.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially in India, I see a lot of women in the corporate sector not owning up, and there are reasons to it, of course.
Right. Interesting. Lynn, are you back?
I am, yes. I've got problems with the line today. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no worries at all. So you were sharing that fabulous story about your own experience, and I think we left off at a critical juncture when there was this self-realization on you cannot move ahead till you establish your own personal brand. And I was wanting to ask you, how did you really go about doing that then?
Yes. Well, I was in the strategic marketing department of a company at that stage, and I sort of applied the strategic marketing principles to my own career. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have to stand out here and differentiate myself. So I took on, I identified a fairly high-profile project that I believed the company would be interested in, and I sold it into the senior directors of the business. And it was a highly successful project. It was very high risk, but it had the desired effect, because it really brought me to the attention of the powers that be, and did my reputation, it really built my reputation within and outside that company. So that was my, I didn't call it personal branding. There was no such thing as personal branding in those days, but effectively that's what it is. It was building a personal brand. And after I had done that, I never actually looked back. So that's why I'm kind of passionate about personal branding, and I can see that it absolutely is, going back to your original question, it's an absolute necessity for people these days. I think if someone is yearning for a career or they want to set up a lucrative business, then they really must develop a personal brand.
Right. And, as an entrepreneur, I understand what my brand means and why it is important, and I get the importance of personal branding. Can you talk a bit more about women in full-time jobs? And I know you shared your own example, but do you feel that women would not succeed at work if they do not have a powerful personal brand?
I think that either gender can succeed at work without a powerful personal brand. However, I think that having a brand makes career development and business success much quicker and more certain. Women benefit more than men, I would suggest, because we have the female tendency is to be a bit self-effacing, not to promote ourselves. We can be a little bit uncomfortable when we're putting ourselves out there. We stand back rather than push ourselves to the forefront. So, in fact, I read the other day that when a job is advertised, men typically will go for the job if they sort of tick 60% of the requirements needed, whereas women tend to want to have 100% of the requirements before they'll actually put themselves forward. So I think that sort of tends to typify the difference between men and women in a competitive environment. Now, the great thing about personal branding is that it isn't about blowing your own trumpet. It's about working out what you're about at your core, being authentic, and being authentic in your behaviors and deliberately and systematically showing your expertise. Not in a shouty, look at me, aren't I great way, but in a natural way. It's a great strategy for women. It really plays to our strengths.
Right. And how does one crystallize that, in a work environment? So as an entrepreneur, let's say my business image or my logo and my website, I have some tangibles to show for what my brand stands for. But when a person is working in an organization, what do you think are those few elements which make a person stand out, apart from, of course, like you said, is, being authentic?
Well, it's of course, I mean, even logo and etc. isn't, if you're in business, that's really not what your personal brand is about. That's the external representation of your brand. But within an employed situation, it's all about going back to your core. It's all about going back to your inner values, your morals, what you stand for, and then from that inner perspective, developing your external behaviors, your attitudes, how you show up, which is a direct reflection of your internal values. So it's you might want to be known, for example, of being a tremendous innovator, or a safe pair of hands, or the spokesperson in the team, or the glue that keeps the team together. So you actually think about, you're marrying up your internal values and your drivers with your external presence, making sure that they're both totally in alignment. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah. And I'm thinking that for that, one needs a lot of clarity on what one stands for. And I know that many times just being caught in the whirlwind of activities and things happening around us, we do lose that introspection time. And hence, just having that figured out is perhaps the first step to then being purposeful about establishing one's brand.
Well, indeed, when I work with clients on their personal brand, we always start by getting to grips with their core values. What really makes them tick. What are they passionate about?
Right.
Who are they at their core? So we define who they are first of all. That's so important, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. An employee because you'll be building your brand about what you want to be known for.
Mm-hmm.
And the internal qualities that underpin the external features of your brand, if you like. They must be natural
Mm-hmm.
to you, part of your being, your drivers, your values. And for the entrepreneur, differentiation is everything. In a
Mm-hmm.
world where true uniqueness in business is actually really extremely rare, then entrepreneurs should be differentiating themselves on the one truly unique element of their business, which is themselves. Again, who they
Mm-hmm.
are at their core. So having truly got to grips with the internal, the invisible elements, the core values, the qualities, the drivers, etc., then turn to how these translate into the external, the visible elements, the behaviors, the
Mm-hmm.
actions, the performance. So again, there's a tremendous overlap between employees and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
It may show differently to the world, but the foundation is the same. The basic principles apply.
Yeah, I can see that now.
Mhm.
And hence the of establishing or developing one's personal brand also would then be fairly similar. So if, let's say tomorrow, Lynn, someone were to be in touch with you, okay, I'm now ready to develop my personal brand, what can they expect?
Well, excuse me, going back to what I was saying, we would start by working out their core values. It always, with me anyway, it always starts with what's in the inside. It's all about the
Mm-hmm.
internal. So we would work a lot on their core values
Mm-hmm.
and really, really digging deep. And then we work out. I have to say again, it's like a product or a service. We then work out our goals, where they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to get there, and put in
Mm-hmm.
effectively a marketing plan,
Mm-hmm.
be it within
And
an
does
employed or an unemployed situation.
okay, sorry. Does this happen over calls, or do you have like a toolkit, or how does this really work?
Well, I have both. My program tends to be, it's an online interactive program where it's a combination of training and calls. So they work through the program or modules of the program online, and after they've
Mm-hmm.
completed a module, we will have a strategic strategy session on Skype, and then we move them from the core values right the way through to the developing the strategy, the planning, and then supported implementation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Lynn. And at this point, I would like us to talk to Chetna a little bit. Chetna, like I shared, has introduced storytelling in dance drama and drama-based learning facilitation, thereby making learning a doing phase rather than a lecture platform when she works with individuals, organizations, and educational institutes. Chetna, would you mind sharing with us any examples of managing image which have worked in the past, and you could take any examples of individuals, organizations, or educational institutes, and how do you think that has really helped in making these entities successful?
Yes, sure. So I essentially work with individuals, as we just mentioned, with corporations, also with schools, universities, with their teachers and the children. So, so when I essentially call myself as an image expression artist, and I use art forms like drama and storytelling, also movement therapy, play, and also uses drama and learning script. I use that, and these are my tools to help people first be aware and then explore and then reach to that what I would totally agree with what Liz said, and then reach to their strategically reach to what they want to project as an image. So my tools like art and first help a person to explore what they are, release a lot of what they are not, and then second step is to identify what they want, and third is achieve. So these are the tools, and with individual clients, we take them through a series of steps. And I have had chances of interacting with a lot of individual clients. It's quite confidential. Now, I cannot disclose the names right now. However, the client was has been working with one of the international publication house based in Mumbai, headquartered in the USA. She has had, when she came to me, she said that she is not able to sustain any personal relationships in her life. And that's that was just a line that she told me. When I went back and looked into her wardrobe and spoke to her more, and we talked about her lifestyle and personal style, we figured out that she only had black and gray in her wardrobe. And I just saw this one Indian Fab India kurti lying in her wardrobe. So when I explored and I did these steps of art expression and play expression, she said that through her past relationships, she's become very yang and masculine in her thought process. She has stopped dressing in a very feminine way, in a very yin way. So these relationships, which are contemporary relationships, also do not very sustain because she is very masculine and dominating with them. So we worked through a series of 7 to 8 months where we worked through a series of clinics and sessions where we kind of we got a lot of feminine silhouettes and feminine fabrics, and we were also working through a lot of other release processes through art and movement. So well, the good news is that she's going to get married in October and she's going to study in a relationship. So that helped a lot with her. And with corporations, I have had a chance to work with women in the gender inclusion campaign last year in the city. And we've had women, the group of men and women sitting through a dance drama session of mine where I included a dance on gender vulnerability at workplace. Well, at the end of the session, a man spoke. He said, "I want to speak something," and she said that I am the sales head here. But today, when I go back, I am not really able to understand what the women thought in my team feel. But also, when I go back home today, I will understand what my wife feels when she is at her workplace. So the image of how one explored, one's behavioral or one's psychological image through these art forms has been phenomenal, in my experience in these cases.
Interesting. Can you talk a bit about how, Chetna, when it comes to women, specifically returning mothers, some of the challenges that you have seen get addressed with image consulting? How do you really go about addressing some of the challenges you see with this group?
Sure. See, I would first, before I give an answer, I would say culturally, as a culture in India, the first, and I would make it very culturally and contextually cultural, is when women are post-motherhood, even if they take their work and they want to come back after 7-8 months of a break, or they have settled being as a mother and now want to come back and start their work being as an entrepreneur or a full-time employee or maybe a freelancer. the first thing that they always come is the physical level. Shape now makes me look slim or slimmer. If my shape is my biggest challenge right now, or my skin has lost its sheen and I don't feel confident, what will I wear to work? So first is the physical level that comes in the first instance. The second is the emotional level of, we are always told that a child, of course, they are not denying the best thing that can happen to a mother. I myself am a mother of a 10-year-old. But then the whole hype around just being a mother, being the best thing of her life, the best thing of her life creates a great hype. But then when you actually go through it, there's a lot more stress and a lot more sleepless nights. And that's what also plays on the emotional level of a mother. Because A, she's going through a lot, which the father even cannot go through. And second, she feels she's been left out on a lot of what is happening at her workplace. So she feels disconnected from the world, and that's what gives her a little more, hits her confidence down on the emotional level. And the third is the infrastructure level, the support back at home. She's always so paranoid of how, households would get in place, how, the mother-in-law support. So we try and work with the first and the second level more of how appearance management should be handled in terms of clothes and the skin and putting some makeup, and also the emotional level. So this is how we work around with them.
Mm-hmm. And how much of the physical aspect of how a woman looks do you think has a bearing on her overall self-image, and does it really affect her own personal brand? Then, and Lynn, would be great for you to add once Chetna has shared her views.
Sure. Well, I have been through a mixed bag in enforcement of sentiments in women when it comes to physical appearance, and especially the body shape is a large issue and a very grave issue to so that it seems to me right now with women when I meet them. And so the shape is something which is the first thing, as I said. And it does affect women who are coming back to work, culturally from an Indian context. Then would be definitely be able to add on to her cultural aspect. But then it definitely makes a difference. But then yes, I would not say productivity might get hampered in terms of efficiency. But yes, there is a huge dent on the self-esteem and the confidence on the emotional level of a woman. Because I see women when they are draped in another garment with a little bit of makeup and the hair being done differently, it is there, you could see that smile. But then what sustains it further is the internal work. What are your what do you stand for at the end of it? What is your confidence? How is your self-esteem behaving or projecting? So definitely physical appearance do matter, and women are very conscious about it. But I always, my personal message to them is that, a lot has to be worked on their emotional and internal fronts too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's say, women do, after having children, do try to lose weight. They do try to get back in shape. And that takes its own time. It's not an easy thing. We all know that. Now, in the absence of that, or while that is happening on the side, how does image consulting really help? I mean, if I don't feel good about my body, how do I really end up feeling good at my workplace or in my career?
Yes. So yes, as you said that weight or body shape is a huge issue when women come back, and I've had a huge number of experiences in terms of not only clients but also friends and neighbors or women who have had kids, the first or second, and their shape has been the first thing when they see me and they tell me how can I get this done? So shape definitely, and there are various tricks and techniques that one can handle in terms of making the shape look a little comfortable, if I will not say very attractive, but more comfortable for the woman to feel good about herself. But then yes, the weight loss definitely takes some time, or interest loss definitely takes time. But I've had also clients who have not joined work because they have not lost a particular kilogram of weight. There had been a case with me where the client said, she said, I was joining only after 3.5 months because I would reduce down by like 8 to 9 kgs, but I'll be ready to go in my clothes that I've had, and I can wear what I want to work, because she is still in a middle-level, middle senior leadership position, and she would like to command the same authority, and she said the same kind of attention, so, which her current weight is not letting her do that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think no matter it's Lynn coming back in here now, that it's certainly self-image. If we're carrying a little bit too much weight, it certainly does affect our self-confidence. But there are other things that we can do while we're also working on our weight and our physical health, which to an extent balances out perhaps a little bit our self-image problem. And I would always suggest that women who are coming back into the workplace, if she feels that her knowledge is out of date, if she can spend some time reading up on her field, blogs, books, newsletters, journals, etc., and can bring her knowledge and her understanding up to date, perhaps join LinkedIn groups, for example, and find out what people in her field are now talking about, and the way that they're talking about it, the words that they're using. She can take a course which not only updates her knowledge, but also is an excellent and current update on her CV. So that sort of thing can actually not totally balance off her self-confidence with her physical appearance, but can certainly give her a boost to her emotional confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And she could start, making sure, for example, that her CV actually, rather than it being focusing on her chronological career, it actually focuses more on the value and her expertise in the field.
Right. So that brings an interesting point then, Lynn. What are some of the useful resources that may be available on the internet or through your website that you could share with our listeners that they could benefit from when it comes to personal branding?
Well, the internet is a fantastic resource for information on personal branding. There's a lot of information about personal branding on the internet. I would urge your listeners to differentiate between, as we said earlier in the call, between the use of social media, not to believe that the use of social media is purely about personal branding, or that that's all that has to be done within personal branding. There's an awful lot that needs to be done aside from social media. So be rather selective when they're looking on the internet for information about personal branding. But they can join, there's lots of LinkedIn groups which are to do with personal branding. They just need to go on LinkedIn and do a search for personal branding and find out which of the groups are active and get involved in those groups. They can certainly come onto my website. The one which contains most information about personal branding is, the URL is www.lynnlorrainecoaching.com. That's LYNNELORRAINE coaching.com. There's some information about personal branding, and there's also my opt-in on that website, where people are very welcome to download that report for free. And that's actually written in such a way that it takes Steve Jobs' approach to branding, which I felt linked very, very closely to my own approach to personal branding. I thought that was a nice, neat little alliance there between the two. But certainly, the internet has got vast resources on personal branding now,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Great.
different from the old days.
Yeah. Okay, and Chetna, what about you? Would you have any interesting resources to share with our listeners on image management, anything that they can refer to?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yes. So I am quite active on Facebook, and I keep posting a lot of my tips and little interesting piece of information that I encounter in everyday life. So my page is Chetna Mehrotra Image Consultancy on Facebook, and this also goes to my website with www.chetnameherotra.com. And yeah, so these are two places where I can find connected and look for more resources and writing and articles. Yes. So.
Well, awesome. And I do want to share with our listeners that if you would like to get in touch with me or with any of our hosts, feel free to write to me at namrata@lifebeyondmotherhood.com in case you missed any of those emails or addresses. Thank you so much, Chetna, and thank you, Lynn. Your insights on personal branding and image management for our listeners has been invaluable, and I'm sure many of us would benefit from this conversation. It has been a complete pleasure hosting both of you on the show, and I do look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you, Namrata. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Namrata. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you. And listeners, do stay tuned in to our next episode of Me in Motherhood. You can follow the International Life Coach Radio channel to know more about our scheduled episodes. The next show on the International Life Coach Radio is on Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the topic, The Power of Networking and Connections. I think it would be an awesome session, and I do plan to tune in. Till later then, this is Namrata from Life Beyond Motherhood signing off. Cheers to a life that is ours to choose. Bye-bye.